Yeah. Good morning. So we will continue our class today. I think today's lecture is lecture number 23. We'll continue with what we left in the last class. In the last class, essentially, we were looking at a generic framework for deriving the equation of motion for a rigid body which could have 6 degrees of freedom in space, right? So if you have to have a governing equation of motion of an aircraft in space, and considering aircraft to be a rigid body, right? So you're not going in more detail of motion of your wings, other and so on. We are just considering that's a rigid body with its huge dimension. If it is in space, then what are the fundamental equation of motions that govern its motion is what we were derived. And then we were looking at those equations, how can be simplified with an realistic assumptions so that we can deduce those 6 equations what we have derived into 3 number of equations for the ground vehicle. And further in the ground vehicle also we made an important assumption along with the symmetricity. The axis of the vehicle is principal axis. So you have only in the inertia, centroidal inertia matrix, you have only mass moment of inertia terms, that's diagonal terms, so off diagonal terms were disappeared. And we have not considered the suspension, then even the roll or the bounce motions can be neglected. So we were able to have a yaw model, 2-degree freedom model, or 2 equations of motions that is sufficient to handle a pure cornering motion of your vehicle on the ground. That's what we were ending our lecture with. So I would quickly just to show what we have done, those equations on my slides, and then we will get into today's topic. And today's topic of our learning is steady state cornering of vehicle in moderate or high speeds, right? So what are the governing equation? How are we going to understand the physics of that motion through mathematics is what today's class we are essentially going to have. So let me share my iTeamsphere board. Hope you are able to see the screen. And see, we were starting this lateral dynamics module 3 of our course, looking at an aircraft as a rigid body in space, and we were looking at importantly an axis system called body fixed coordinate frame, BFCF, body fixed coordinate frame, so that we were able to represent 2 important vectors, that is velocity vector, linear velocity vector, and angular velocity vector at CG location of your aircraft. And at the same location you had your body fixed coordinate system were considered. So these 2 vectors are at that point can be more appealing or more comfortable to look at your dynamic equations or dynamic behavior of your vehicle. That's why we have to consider body fixed coordinate frame. Of course, body fixed coordinate frame is not an inertial frame of reference. That's what you should understand. That's where you are able to differentiate between inertial frame of reference and non-inertial frame of reference. So if you want to differentiate, you can say inertial frame of reference, Newton's law obeys. Non-inertial frame of reference, Newton's law does not hold good. And a non-inertial frame of reference is an accelerated frame of reference. So as an aircraft is accelerated in space, so you would have the axis fixed at the body CG location is non-inertial frame of reference. But representation of these 2 vectors with respect to non-inertial frame of reference is an advantage to look at dynamic aspects easily. Of course, the absolute motion parameters, especially the position of your aircraft in space, if you want to say, you require a position vector with respect to inertial frame of reference. Whereas the position of an aircraft is not able to be explained in body fixed coordinate system. Because you could say the position of location in aircraft with respect to CG only. But with respect to ground, where is it position and all, it's not possible to explain through body fixed coordinate frame. So that is all some of the differences that we have understood, and these equations in the first lecture on lateral dynamics, there are 12 equations that we have derived. These 11th and 12th equations are essentially represent the force, net force and net moment that are required to be acting on the aircraft for its motion. So some of your I'll mute on. So, Abhiram, your side noise is there. Please, you have a doubt, you ask, otherwise mute yourself. Right, so this is what we were doing in the first class, and you understood that the force equation is very simple, as you have mass times acceleration, where mass is a scalar quantity constant, whereas the moment equation, if you look at it, is IC times alpha, where IC is not a constant term, it is the tensor. It has got number of components. So diagonal components of mass moment of inertia, off diagonal terms are called the product of inertia, and so on. So these all are the fundamentals that we are knowing already. So essentially this equation 11 and 12 is what we have to get, and that is through the derivative, time derivative of linear momentum and angular momentum one can get. That's essentially what we were doing in lecture number 22, deriving. So the absolute derivative of any vector which is fixed in a body fixed coordinate frame and can be obtained by these two terms. So first it's a derivative term called a relative term. So this term would give you the variation of that particular vector, or variation of velocity, or variation of angular velocity, how that would be varying by a pilot looking at that, or a person in an aircraft looking at it. Being in a body fixed frame, what is the variation is what is explained through this relative term. And the second term, omega cross A, is the term which is accounting the rotational effect of your body fixed coordinate term. So the sum of these two terms is what is going to give you an absolute variation of a vector with respect to time from initial frame of reference. So this equation 13, which is a generic formula, can be applied onto our case to derive. So we had two derivatives, d p by dt, we got the equation 17, and d hc by dt, we have got equation 19. So this 17 and 19 are the two are the popular Newton-Euler equation of motion for a body which would have 6 degrees of freedom in space. And further, we were able to deduce by applying a sensible assumption for an aircraft, if that is symmetric about z axis, you see that the equation get reduced. So these are the 5 different cases that we have looked at, and we ended with looking at finally a steady state cornering of a passenger car, a 2-axle vehicle on a ground would be governed by only these two equations. If Fi is equal to MRU, or Mz is equal to 0. There is no moment in the top view. So you see that these two equations are going to be looked at with the free body diagram of a vehicle model called bicycle model, and we are going to derive an important metric called understeer gradient, because this understeer gradient is a metric called because it can be used for comparing the vehicle tendencies. You have different vehicles in your hand, you have vehicle parameters, their specifications, their dimensions, so you would be able to comment on vehicle handling capability or vehicle handling characteristics using this simple metric, looking at steady state motion of an individual vehicle. And then we will get into further involved study of our course of this particular lateral dynamic part. So today's lecture I am going to explain you a model called bicycle model. right? Any doubt particularly that you have at this point of time, you can ask. Otherwise, we'll go ahead with our class. So this is lecture number 23, and today it is 2/4/2021, and we are going to look at steady state cornering. Steady state cornering of 2-axle vehicle. So what is the governing equation here? So you have your Fy equals m r small u, I will use it here, right? So small v, small u, though we had in our generic study, small v is what is ui plus vj plus wk we had. Now for a ground vehicle, standard notations that followed, let us take a linear or velocity along longitudinal direction is represented by small v, right? Small u. So this is one equation, and m is at equals 0. So these are the two equations describing our steady state cornering of a vehicle. So how am I going to look at this vehicle as a rigid body vehicle? Because I'm not going to consider for some time the suspension part of my vehicle. So if I do not have my suspension part of my vehicle, I will have the model is what is called a bicycle model. So I'm going to look at, see, I have my vehicle looked at from the top view is appearing like this, say. So this rectangle, what I have drawn, is my vehicle. So this is in this direction going. So I have my front suspensions are independent suspensions A, and rear suspensions are solid axial suspension. So I have like this. So, and my vehicle in the top view is represented like this. Now, what I would do, I would consider that entire vehicle is now represented by a model called a bicycle model. So I'll have one frame, a horizontal member like this. And this length of this is same as that of length of my vehicle wheelbase. So this is wheelbase, right? From here to here, what is that? We have wheelbase. And you see that I have my CG location somewhere here. I would have now this representation. Of course, so far we were looking at L1, L2. Let me have it for convenient now for lateral dynamic study, A and B. Correct? You should be able to adopt notation whenever we have. We can also have L1, L2, but I would suggest that AB you take because I'm going to follow that. And you see in literatures, most of the time you are going to have this A. So what is A is? A is now the centroidal location from the front axle. B is the centroidal location of my vehicle from rear axle. So I would have here as well my CG location, and this is my A length, and this is my vehicle B length. So the total length is L. So L equals wheelbase A plus B, which you know, right? So now these two wheels I am going to collapse. I'm going to collapse and I'm going to consider that as a single wheel. So that wheel is what is now put over here. And I'm going to take that wheel not in this way. I'm going to put that wheel with some steering angle. So this is that wheel. So this wheel is now a collapsed wheel. So considering both the wheels are put together and they are that is represented here. And similarly, the rear two axle wheels I am going to collapse and take it as one wheel. So now look at this. It is having two wheels and the frame. and that's why this model is called as bicycle model. Very, very popular model. And this model is quite a good model for our lateral dynamic study or handling characteristic study. So now, so this is my model. So this entire vehicle is now taken as this model. So the entire weight of this model is at this CG location, and that is my vehicle mass. So I do not have my vehicle mass is discretized. I have my vehicle mass as it is, one mass, and that mass is now over here. And my entire car, two-axle vehicle is now represented by front wheel and rear wheel. And front wheel is the collapsing two front wheels of the front axle of a car. And rear wheel in bicycle model is collapsed model of rear two wheels of the passenger car. So that is how we can look at it. So this is my physical typical representation of my bicycle model geometry or configuration that you can say. So this configuration is with the tilt in the front axle. That means I have given a steering angle here. So there is a steering angle here. So this angle is what is steering angle. I use this notation delta F. So this is steering angle. So this wheel is steered. So what would happen now? This vehicle is not going straight. So this is expected to turn in this direction. Instead of going this straight, the vehicle is going to turn in this direction as I give steering. And this angle I have drawn as if it is exaggerated more than 30 degrees, around 30 degrees, for us to understand. But sometimes you see, you do not, you may give in your steering wheel more angle, but the wheel which is turning at the ground would not turn 30 degrees, right? In high speed or moderate speed cornering, where your course of road is not no finite radius, it will be almost a huge radius of turn. In such cases, these angles, whatever that I am going to represent in my model, all are very small angle, but I put it purposely bigger so that you understand the geometry and the kinematic equation that I am going to derive from this model, right? Okay. So, and see, we have also looked at in a particular wheel alone, if I take, when there is a side force acting on the wheel, so there will be a lateral force developed. You remember that, right? In a tire topic, when we have studied, we were looking at that. So let me just draw that picture once again. So this is sitting on a wheel rim, and this is the rim. And here, if you see, this wheel on the ground, going like this, right? So this is my contact patch, and this is the section of my tire wheel assembly. So this is my axis of the wheel. So if you look at that in the top view, you would see that contact patch has just to have moved to the side, skewed to the side. So if you see the same in the top view, I would have my rim, the tire wheel assembly, appearing like this. This is my tire wheel assembly. This is my axis in the top view. But if you look at this contact patch, has got like this, right? So you have this contact patch. So in this, when there is a side force acting, that's what we have looked at. When there is a side force acting here, Fs. So I can shift the side force. The side force now is at the axis, along the axis. So that if I shift it down to the ground and cancel this, these two would form a couple, and that couple would give a pressure of my wheel to held in the hub. And you see this force now, this couple I am not looking at in the top view. This couple, what is there responsible, the side force would give a pressure of my wheel onto the hub. And this force now over here along this has to be balanced, resisted. So I would generate the tire road interaction would generate force in this direction, Fy. And there is an offset here, and that's what we have looked at as TP, pneumatic trail. This Fy into TP is what is responsible for self-aligning torque and so on that we know. So this is my Fy. So Fy is acting in what direction? In the direction of the side force, right? Opposite to the direction of side force. And you see the motion of my vehicle wheel, if you look at, it won't be along the longitudinal direction. It is going to be at an angle. This angle also I have exaggerated. I have drawn here with an angle alpha, and this is a wheel travel direction, right? Wheel heading direction, wheel travel direction. This angle alpha is what is called slip angle. So slip angle is a necessary event or phenomena that was to occur here. The wheel travel direction should have this angle to the wheel plane in order to generate Fy. That's what we have looked at through this graph. So we had looked at the variation of Fy is going to be function of alpha, and the variation is something like this. It goes, and it is asymptotic and limited by a road adhesion limit. So this is all you have studied. So now at alpha equals 0, dou Fy by dou alpha is what is defining an important parameter called cornering stiffness. That would be here. So the slope here, whatever that I have, is what is cornering stiffness. So for a smaller angle, so this angle would be what, maximum of some 16 degrees for a passenger car, 6 degrees for a race cars, and so on. So here with a very small angle, this slope or this value, stiffness value, can be considered as constant. So another important assumption in my bicycle model, the stiffness of these tires are assumed to be this constant value. I'm not going to consider the nonlinear variation of cornering stiffness. That we will do later on once we play around with this constant value and get a hold of this bicycle model understanding. So this is what we have already looked at in a tire for handling cornering properties in module 1. I just wanted to bring it back to understand these terms once again, so that you'll be comfortable in handling study. See now, what is that? This Fy, whatever that I have, would be acting here this direction. I'm approximation. These angles, whatever I'm going to represent, are very small. So for this frame and right angle direction, I just represent, and this is Fy, F, and this is Fyr. From their tires that will be coming. I have not taken it purposely here. Later on I will put it. But now let us understand kinematics of this bicycle model. So you know the difference between kinematics and kinetics, right? Kinematics are only study of motion geometry. I would look at only velocities and acceleration or position was the motion geometry only, without considering cause of the motion. So I have not drawn now here a free body diagram. Please do not think that I have drawn a free body diagram. You may think that since I have put here these forces, it's a free body diagram. No, I just have said here like this, because it is taking a turn here. So for that, the necessary forces should be in this direction, just to represent that I have put it, right? Let me draw a free body diagram once again later, after you understand this physical geometry of my bicycle model kinematics. So now see that as this is turning, how do I represent my turning radius? With respect to CG, if I represent, the turning radius is somewhere very, very, very far away. right? Somewhere here. See, it's also I'm bringing into the board, but if you look at in real time, it is not so. It's if this is my wheelbase, this distance is very finite. But you may say that is very far away, and this is what is my center of curvature, and let me call this is R, radius of turn. What is R? Radius of turn. R is turning radius of my vehicle. Okay, so if this is now given, I should join. See, something rigid body is turning about this point. Any point on this body, if I connect to this, velocity at that point will be perpendicular to the line. That's what we know, right? So let me just have this thing here. So this angle also, there's a small angle here. So the 90 degrees would be appearing here like this. So this is 90 degrees. So this is not vertical, it's some angle, and this is 90 degree now. And I have here, this is my velocity. This is the velocity at this EG location, and that velocity, let me put it as a velocity capital U. It's not velocity along x-axis, it's a total velocity at that point. And I can resolve this velocity into two components. One is along this wheelbase or longitudinal direction of my vehicle. Another one is in the lateral direction of my vehicle. So this part, this velocity is the longitudinal velocity, small u. What is there in this equation? Small u. And this velocity is what is v, lateral velocity. Lateral velocity, right? And since this is now going to have rotation, I would also have here an angular velocity, and that angular velocity is what is called a roll. Sorry, yaw velocity, not roll, yaw velocity. That is r, right? So you know that in this now I have added r is yaw velocity or yaw rate we call, and v is lateral velocity. So lateral velocity is what is the component of velocity of vehicle along the normal direction. Component along the longitudinal direction is what is your forward velocity. So u is what is your forward velocity. Or you call it as the vehicle velocity itself, small u, right? So this u is not varying as function of time. This r is not varying as function of time, and this v is not varying as function of time. That is why you say the motion executed because of this velocity there will be motion, and because of the steering there will be motion in a curve, 2D motion in the ground, and the motion is called steady state motion, right? So you know this Fy for pure cornering would also have a derivative terms m u dot plus mr, mv dot plus mru, and you would have here iz, z, r dot. So those are disappearing, and that's become steady state. So steady state means there won't be any variation in r, v, u as function of time. So these are time non-varying parameter in steady state motion. Please remember that, right? So this is r, this is v, and this is u, small u. Okay, so now let me just take that. If I join this center of my wheel contact patch to this R, I'll just join this, and I just join this as well here. I would have my velocities now perpendicular to this line join, right? So what are those velocities? So I would have here the direction of my forward, means here you see this wheel travel direction like that. This wheel would have a travel direction perpendicular to this. So that would be somewhat like this, right? So now if you look at what does this, look at now this diagram, and Fi I have it here with respect to this. So I have my wheel travel direction not along the wheel plane. This dotted line, whatever is there at an angle delta f from horizontal, is what is wheel plane. This is wheel plane. But this velocity vector is not along the wheel plane, it is at an angle. And this angle is what is slip angle. Since it is in the front axle, I will put with the subscript alpha. So alpha f. So front axle slip angle. What is that you see here? So you see here alpha. The same way here it's an alpha. Similarly, I would have here a velocity vector at 90 degrees, and that inclination to this, if you look at, and that is alpha r, slip angle at the rear axle. And you should also look at here an important angle, that is this angle, because you see this is now a rectangle and this diagonal is what is my velocity of my vehicle at CG location, and that I resolve along the longitudinal direction of my vehicle and lateral direction of my vehicle. And there is an angle here. This angle is termed by a notation beta called body slip angle. Body slip angle. So what is beta? Body slip angle. See, look at this slip is not at the tire contact patch. Alpha f and alpha r are the slip angle at the tire contact patch. Beta is the body slip angle that is at the CG location of your vehicle, bicycle model, where that is defined by tan inverse of beta is what is r. It is defined by tan beta equals opposite side v, adjacent side u. So tan beta is what is v by u, right? V by u. Her beta is very small angle. You could see here these are all very small angle. Then I can say beta straight away is v by u, right? So this is what is the kinematic diagram of my bicycle model. So what is this point is center of curvature, or you can say it is an instantaneous center of rotation, ICR. At that instant diagram that I have drawn, these all velocities are with this. So now see here, again very interesting aspect. The linear velocity here, whatever that I have, right? I just take that as an important thing. So this is my linear velocity, small u. And that would be constant, right? So that would be there any point on the vehicle, my bicycle model, if I take that is same. So I would have the same here as well. U. I would have the same here as well. U. So I could construct here a rectangle having this velocity vector as a diagonal. I can construct here a rectangle like this. So now look at this angle here. What is this angle? So if you see this vector here, this is not same as v. So v is only here, but here it is not v. Why it's not only v? It is v plus, there is an angular velocity yaw rate r, and this is with respect to CG. So the entire bicycle frame is changing its orientation because of yaw velocity with respect to CG. So the linear velocity of any other point other than this point would be varying. So the v is not constant throughout this wheelbase length. So that would be varying. So what would be the velocity here? Because of this is v plus r times a, where r is yaw velocity, a is the linear distance, right? You have a link. This is hinged. So if I rotate this link, what is the linear velocity of this point? Where it is hinged, it is 0, because there is no translation. Whereas this end, if you look at, you say that is r omega. So this length into omega. So here that omega, what you say is what is your yaw velocity r, like that, right? So r times a would also be there, RA. So this is the velocity here. and u. So this angle here is delta f minus alpha f is what is this angle, right? Similarly here it is alpha r itself straight away. So this length is now, if you look at here, V is acting down this point. Unlike this front axle, here V is down, whereas this part B into R as the yaw is in a positive direction. So we have a SI coordinate system. So right hand coordinate system fixed at CG location of your bicycle model. So you would have your index finger is positive X, middle finger is your positive Y, and thumb goes inside is your positive Z, going inside the ground. So the velocity vector in this direction should be positive. So you see now here, this will be B into R, that would be here. So the BR value is greater than B. So you would see this velocity here, this component would be BR minus V, right? So you know now at CG the velocity in lateral direction is V. At front axle tire contact point, the velocity is V plus RA, whereas at the rear axle contact you would have your lateral direction velocity is BR minus V. That is what you have to understand. So this is that if you have understood, now it's very simple to write down those kinematic equation, and which is going to bring in an important definition of understeer gradient. For that we are working on it. Any doubt at this point of time with this explanation? Do you have any doubt? Vinit Krishna, any doubt?
Sir, this diagram alone is not clear.
Diagram is not clear.
You have used the notations in
you just to follow me. If you are first time hearing, then there should not be any confusion. You have looked at something, then you are trying that notation in back of mind and looking at it. It's blankly forget everything and come along with me, whatever that I explained. What notation you do not follow here? Tell me.
No, no, sir. I have written the notations close to each other, so it is difficult to follow. Sir.
Notations are difficult now. No.
Like here you have written V plus RA, sir.
Yeah.
You have marked it, but it is not clear, sir.
So this V plus RA is not clear,
yes, sir. For which you have marked.
V is this. This is not clear for you.
Yes,
okay.
Sir.
Yeah. Okay. If that is so, just let me have a bigger diagram. Pardon for that. That is why I was asking. See, maybe I follow, but you do not get it, then the purpose is lost. Let me draw a bigger diagram.
Sir, if you could also try to change the fit size, like on the top right corner of the screen, there's a there's an option which is saying best fit. So I'm assuming if you can change the dimension of the page itself, that should help too.
Yeah. But this is that it will come. So if I put this 150, then again here, no, say I don't want this screen to go more. Let it be this. Let me draw again a clear diagram. I understand. So first time when you are looking at it, it will be difficult, but you would be very much used to it, right? Because you're going to draw these diagrams repeatedly. So is this bicycle model clear now? I have a frame. I have my CG location here. This is A, this is B. And as you have now, I am not going to draw velocity at CG and its component. I'll write only the component. So I have here a velocity component V, small v, and I have a longitudinal velocity component U. This would happen in your vehicle, and why? Because when you take a turn and you give your steering, right? So steering is given how? By changing the orientation of the wheel plane in the front axle. So you give your steering wheel rotation, there is a ratio of steering ratio. Accordingly, it would be reduced and it would be given to the wheels. So this angle is what is steering angle. Any doubt in this diagram? This angle is a steering angle. And you know that as this is now taking a turn, and you would see there is a lateral force developed. That lateral force is because of a slip angle. How do you define your slip angle? By this. So this is your slip angle, alpha in front axis, so alpha f I put. So any doubt in this? I needed a response. Vineet.
No, sir.
Yeah, so this is alpha f, right? In case you do not follow my notation, please stop immediately, right? And then there is a velocity vector here at the rear, and this angle is what is alpha r. Clear? So these two angles are called slip angles. Alpha f comma alpha r are the slip angles. Angles in the front and rear axial wheels respectively. You know, these are essential for the development of lateral force, that you have understood. So now, if you look at, if I combine these two components, I would have here a velocity, and that velocity is what is my vehicle velocity, u, I say. So here I just use this notation. Time being only in this time you would have to accept this. So take this as the velocity, which is your vehicle velocity, and that is what is resolved like that. So this angle here would be angle beta. What is body slip angle? You understand body slip angle? The CG location, the vehicle goes in a curvature, but the velocity of this, if you look at the velocity vector of CG, it is like this. So the diagram, if you look at, these all three velocity vectors. So one is the CG location velocity vector. Other two are the velocity vectors at the centroid, the contact patch location. So these all, if I draw perpendiculars from here, right? I'm not going to extend it. If I draw a perpendicular from here for this, if I draw perpendicular from here for this, right? And if I draw perpendicular from here for this, these all are going to meet at position here is what is center of curvature, right? So I would have my r. This is my turning radius r. So this I just accommodated in this board. So assume that. So any rigid body, if you take for that matter, you see all have learned your rigid body mechanics. That's a prerequisite for this course. You understand, right? That. So if you take that, these all velocity vectors will come here. So these are all straight lines. So it would come here. You would follow, right? Now, your doubt was how these velocities are varying, right? Vineet, that was your doubt.
Yes, sir. Yes.
So, see this velocity vector here is v. So, the same should be here. In fact, I have not drawn. So, this v is smaller and it would be, this length would be more. If I draw that, it would be more. I could have taken this angle smaller and drawn diagram like that. So, there is to be, see now I can have composing this, right? And this. So this linear velocity part is not going to change. This u is not going to change. That is same here. Whatever that you have it here. So I should have extended this. I should have put this smaller. So that is how we should put. This is correct, right? Let me just change that. So this vector what I have drawn is this velocity. Look at the length of arrows that I draw. The same length is what I take it here as well, right? And this velocity is what is small v. If I combine these two, that's my vehicle velocity, u. Now, perpendicular to this, U, capital U, is what I draw. This is perpendicular, is what I draw. What is coming to this R, right? So if you look at what does this angle should be, this angle, if I take this length as A, it is R theta, right? So R theta is what is this A? So A by R. So this angle is A by R. Similarly, this angle would be B by R, right? The total angle will be L by R. The total angle will be L by R, where L is wheelbase, R is turning radius. So this is that simple configuration diagram or kinematic diagrams that you should understand. Any doubt in this, what I have drawn?
No, sir.
No doubt, right? Yeah. Same way, so like U, I have, this is what I was to tell you now. So, you look at now this velocity of this point in lateral direction. What is the velocity that you expect? Is it only U, V? No, it will be V plus R. So there is a yaw velocity, yaw rate as well. As you give a steering and it is a steady state cornering, you would have this R, yaw rate, not going to change as function of time, would happen to responsible for your orientation change in the top. So that is what is this. So the entire bicycle is rotating about CG location, and it is also translating. So this is what is called a general plane motion in dynamics. So there is translation as well as rotation. So translation in curved path means if this is my bicycle wheelbase, it is the translation, like that it comes. But as it is also changing its rotation, orientation comes, it is having complex plane motion called general plane motion. That is all engineering mechanics standard textbook, Beer and Johnson, or other books. If you look at R.C. Hibbeler, you would understand, right? These topics, you should visit those textbooks, fundamental books. So this R. So this R, as it is, this entire link is rotating. This frame is rotating about CG with respect to R. The velocity at this CG, lateral velocity is V, get incremented as you come out of this. So that would be incremented here, how much? As in the same direction. So this value would be V plus, as R is in this rotation, right? Positive direction, R into A is what is to be added, linear velocity. So R is what is the angular velocity, A is the length, so you would have a linear velocity term. So this is what is the velocity at this location. Do you get this point, Vinith?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Similarly, if you see here, V is down in this direction, whereas as this is rotating now like this, and this point happens to be at this side, and you would have here VR and downward direction V. So the resultant of these two is what is coming up here, this component. And this length, if you look at, this length is same as U, whatever is there here. The linear velocity at CG along the longitudinal direction, U will not change, that will be there, whereas the lateral velocity at CG is given by V, that defines the angle beta that we have seen. And other points other than this point CG location, you see that linear lateral velocities are different. This you have to understand. So here this vector would be what now? BR minus V, since they are in opposite direction. Whereas here it's what V, here I have V as well as AR. So that get added, that's this length, this exaggerated vector length I have drawn, pardon for that. So this is get added. And this is your BR minus V. That's all. So now we will quickly do this equation writing. That's not a big task. So what are those equations? So first equation is you should understand this R into capital R. What is R into capital R? R is yaw rate into this R, which is turning radius. So yaw rate into turning radius is what? Small u. Small u, right? Small u. So R by u is what is 1 by R. So this is equation 1. This relation, these are kinematic relations that you should understand. So it's simple. So linear velocity at this point, I want to know from this turning center of rotation, this length into R. Like what is this linear velocity you got? A into R you put. Here B into R you put. Similarly, at CG location with respect to turning center of radius, what is that? This is R into capital R. That's what is this U now. I define like that. Right? That's equation 1. And equation 2 is this angle beta. So beta equals V by U. Why this? Because these are all angles are very small angles. Very small. Why these all angles are very small angles? Because the speed U is high speed or moderate speed. It's in a highway speeds. It is not very low speeds like in a parking station. So you take your vehicle and maneuver with very slowly and so on. And then the velocity is different. Then your low speed cornering should be separately looked at. So what is the steering mechanism required for avoiding scrub of your tire and so on. So that we will see separately. Very low speed cornering we will see separately at the end. But this is a moderate or high speed cornering, maybe around 50, 60 kilometers per hour or beyond the 100 kilometers per hour you are going, and then you are doing slight input of steering, your bicycle model in steady state that you are looking at it. So steady state means that speed is constant, U is constant, R is constant, V is constant. That's very important, right? When this angle tan beta become beta itself, right? I can write tan beta is beta itself because it's very small angle. So I would define this. That's my second equation. What is my third equation? I have defined beta. Let me define what is now alpha F, front axle wheel slip angle, tire slip angle. So that would be, see, look at here, I put minus sign. You should say, why do I put minus sign? And this angle is what is this? So I have steering angle, and let me take this angle here. So this angle minus this angle is what is this angle? So delta F, this plus. Why this is plus? Look at this direction. In the top view, this direction is positive because SI coordinate system. Whereas the angle alpha F measured is counterclockwise, opposite. So that is negative. That is why I put here minus sign. So delta F minus this angle. So this angle is what is very small angle. So opposite side by adjacent side. So it's V plus AR by U. Right? So I can rewrite this once again as minus of delta F minus AR by U. I take it inside minus V by U. So this is my equation number 3. This is alpha F. Right? Just in 5 minutes I'll finish. If you have next class, you can proceed. Let me complete later on. You can watch back this. Right? So this is equation number 3. Next equation is alpha R. So alpha R is what now? Again, you see that angle I put minus because the direction measured from horizontal counterclockwise. So which is negative as per SI coordinate system. So alpha R is minus BR minus V. So BR by U minus V by U. So this is my fourth equation. So let me define now beta here. So beta in terms of this goes inside positive. So this, if I bring it here, that's alpha R plus BR by U is what is beta. So let's call this equation as phi. See, now I require here this A by R and B by R I put. So now what is A by R? What is A by R? So look at from this equation 3. I have A by R, because what is R by U? 1 by R. So this equation 3 becomes alpha F equals minus delta F plus A by R minus beta, sorry, plus beta, right? So A by R is what I needed. So A by R is alpha F. So this goes on the other side. So that's become positive delta F plus alpha F minus beta. So that is what is this A by R angle. So let this equation be sixth equation. Then B by R. So what is B by R? B by R is, look at here. So this BR by U is what is B by R. So B by R is beta minus alpha R. That's my equation number 7. Right? So now I know the total angle at this point O, where my bicycle model is turning about this point center, radius capital R, turning radius capital R. L by R is A by R plus B by R. So if I add 6 and 7, I would get this. So I would have beta goes off. I will have delta F plus alpha F minus alpha R. So what is that I require here is not L by R. I require what is the required steering angle. So delta F is what is now L by R. Let us call this equation as 8. Now equation 9 would be delta F. So L by R, this goes on that side. So minus alpha F plus alpha R. So this equation is an important equation. This is equation number 9. So this equation gives you what is the necessary steering angle in terms of wheelbase, turning radius, and slip angles at the front axle wheel tire and rear axle wheel tire. So if we have this, now we can derive an equation for understeer gradient, right? So shall we go for that, or we will have it in the next class? You have your class next class, right? Are you free, or next class do you have?
No, sir. Yeah.
Some of you are having it, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Anyhow, let me finish this small part, another 5 minutes, and then others can see it later. That's not going to take very long time. Simple relationship. That is only taking now steady state coordinate equation. So equation of motions. Motion for steady state cornering as what as Fy equals mr into u, right? That's the equation. So what is Fy? Fy would be sum of Fy in front axle wheels plus Fy in rear axle wheels. So this Fy, that is C alpha times alpha, and I put here minus sign. Why this minus sign is taken? To account this alpha. So alpha in our bicycle model is negative, and this minus should come here so that I will know what is my Fy magnitude. So that is why you have to have here an angle, minus angle, right? Then only you would have Fy is positive. So what is my coordinate system? Right hand coordinate system. So now Fy to be positive, stiffness cannot be negative. Stiffness is always positive. So alpha, what I measure is now against that direction, right? In negative direction, negative angle. So to compensate that, I introduce here this. So Fy F, if I put, this is the alpha F. So Fy R is minus C alpha. So I would also have here C alpha F, front, C alpha R, rear, and alpha R. So this minus sign is required in the equation, right? So if we have understood this, then I can write from this what is my alpha F. So what is my alpha F? That's going to be minus Fy F by C alpha F. So this is Fy. Now if you look at this Fy F can be written in terms of Fy. Like you have your total weight W and WF and WR you are writing, right? How do you write if we are having a total weight W? Is it total? Total weight of your vehicle. Then WF you write it as WB by L. WR you write it as WA by L. The same way you can write FYF like this, minus Fy, total Fy, B by L into C alpha F, right? C alpha F. So this Fy is Fyf plus Fyr is what is equal to MRU, that you know. So now what is R into R? That's what kinematic equation that you have seen. R is equal to U, right? So what is R now? U by R. So if I substitute that in this equation, Fy is going to be mu squared by R, where u squared by R is what is lateral acceleration. And m, I want to change it as a weight. So W u squared by G into R is what is my Fy. So this is a simple equation. So in my free body diagram, if I look at, this is centrifugal force, right? Or the same is what is my effect force. If I consider u squared by R as my centripetal acceleration, it is centripetal acceleration or the effect force acting towards the center of turn, right? So that is this force, and that is coming from the total lateral force value. So now Fy can be replaced, this can be substituted here. So if I do that, what would happen here? This equation would become minus W B by L into U squared by G into R is what is my alpha F, right? And what is this WB by L? That is WF minus WF, front axle load, U squared by GR is what is my alpha F. Any doubt in this? Of course, I missed the C alpha. The C alpha is there here. C alpha F is there. So this is my alpha F value. And similarly, I can get alpha R as minus Fy R by C alpha R, and that's going to be minus Fy A by L C alpha R. That's going to be minus WA by C alpha R L into U squared by GR. So what is alpha R? So I'll get here. So this term is what is WR. So minus WR load at the rear axle, U squared by GR by C alpha R. So what is alpha R? So let's call this equation as, so let me number these equations for convenience. So I had this equation taken, which is equation 10, and this is equation 11, and these two set of equation 12, and this is equation 13, equation 14. So now what am I going to do? I'm going to substitute this in equation number 9. So put (13) and 14 in 9. So what is 9? Delta F equals L by R minus alpha F plus alpha R. So if I substitute that L by R, so here minus of this angle is minus, that's going to be plus. So WF U squared by C alpha F GR. And here plus alpha R and I have minus value, so minus WR U squared by C alpha R GR. So again a bit of modification, taking the common term out, I would have L by R plus U squared by GR. I take it out, that's lateral acceleration. So I would have inside WF by C alpha F minus WR by C alpha R outside U squared by GR. So this is my delta F. And you see this term is what is very important term called understeer gradient, KUS. So WF by C alpha F is what is called front axle wheel compliance, tire compliance, rear tire compliance, we say, right? So now C alpha F is what is cornering stiffness. So here C alpha F is double the value of the two wheels. So in bicycle model, per wheel you are given C alpha F, you have to multiply and take the double value here. That's important. C alpha R double value you have to take. Similarly, WF is what? In the free body diagram, you take WF is W B by L. So total weight is there into B by L is what is WF. So that is taken here. This should be 2 times of tire cornering stiffness. That has to be kept in mind. So this is equation number 15, which is fundamental governing equation. Fundamental governing equation for steady state. Look at steady state is important word. Steady state handling behavior of a vehicle, right? So this is what we have derived till here. So we can also derive this based on my free body diagram that we will see from the next class, right? So this equation is quite useful equation, and this parameter KUS is function of now delta F. So I can write this as L by R plus KUS into U squared by GR is what is my delta F. So this equation. Now the steering angle required to take a maneuver depends upon wheelbase, turning radius and KUS. This KUS can be positive, KUS can be 0, KUS can be negative. So based on this value, you would have a requirement of steering varying, and you can understand the physical behavior of your vehicle turning tendency. So that is what I would start in the next class to go further in our course. So with that note, let me stop today's lecture, and I am happy to answer if you have any doubts. I think you are comfortable with the notations, right, Vinith? You can just go through once again what I have taught. It's easier because you see some of the journal papers, you see these the notation sets are followed in the lateral dynamic aspects. So lateral dynamic itself, people are doing it as a single course, and textbooks are available for that. So we are now having a whole perspective as a fundamental course. So this vehicle dynamics course is not everything covered. So it gives you fundamentals of vehicle dynamics, and one can pursue particularly the research or further go in more detail with the tire mechanics or lateral dynamics or longitudinal dynamics or ride dynamics and so on. So these are the common notations that you encounter when you go through research articles for bicycle model. And please follow the notation that I follow. So that next part module, once we finish now, what all left in this, we will go for pure cornering. Then we will study steady state gain means what, we will look at it, and how do you find out transient response of your vehicle. So this is steady state response. How do you get a transient response of your vehicle? So what are the important tests that are carried out for handling characteristics to study? So there's so many, another 3-4 lectures I would teach you on handling aspects, and then we will have some 2-3 lectures on stability analysis. So you have a stability factor. So there is a relationship between the understate gradient and stability factor. So you have to have all clarity. There are so many terms and terminologies will come. And most interestingly, there is something called the numerimetric. There are 4 parameter model, and that is the classical model. So these are all models you learn, and you have now in your digital assignment 3 vehicles of the same brand. So you would see a nice study of them, you would feel enjoying. That's what is that outcome of this course. So with that note, let me stop. Any doubts, anything that you want to ask? Deepak Narayanan?
No, sir. No, sir.
No doubt. Vineet Krishna?
Sir, no, sir. No, sir.
Okay. So you're following, right? That second time I drawn the diagram is very clear to you.
Yes, sir. That was clear.
Okay. Fine. Thank you. We'll meet again tomorrow morning, 8 o'clock. Right? Saturday happened to be a working day. Instead of 7:30, 8 o'clock we'll meet. Good day to all of you.